What's up, everybody? Citizen Kimberly here. Welcome back to the channel. And now it's time for an episode of Netflix and Chop, where we slice open and dissect a feature film. Today's feature we're going to be discussing is a 2016 horror named Let's Be Evil. So the story starts off, and we are looking at a young girl. It's thundering outside. The wind and rain are beating up against the window. She quietly gets out of her bed with her stuffed animal pressed very tightly close to her head. As she's walking down the darkened hallway, we can hear the sound of not only rain, but perhaps, and we do find out that the shower is going. So she's walking, and it's very slow. And she walks into the bathroom, and she pulls back the curtain to the shower, and there is her father. And he says something like blah, 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 blah. And then we wake up. What we awaken to is a young lady, and she has red hair, and she's getting herself together. She goes out into her living room, and she's preparing very steadfast to get herself and prepare herself for whatever she's going to be doing. Through a doorway, we can see that there's an elderly woman on the bed and another woman taking care of her. And then the phone rings. But it's not really a phone, it's like a computer kind of phone apparatus ringing. I don't know this technology, but the phone rings and she answers it via Skype. It's Skype. There's almost an automated voice speaking to her. And they're like, "Are you prepared for this? We have all of your test results, and so you have this top security clearance to get into this building because this job that you have is very important and it's very top secret." And so the young lady is like, "Oh, thank you so much for this opportunity. I can't believe that this is happening, and I'm so excited and I'm overwhelmed, and I'll be there in a second." So the lady then turns to the person that's caring for her elderly mother, and she is giving her instructions for where things are going to be. And the caretaker is like, "Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be okay." So then we get into the car with this young lady, and she's driving. We can see her going through tunnels. And of course, the intro kind of starts to fill in, and we get the flashes of names going on. And of course, the intro is very technological. It's almost like looking at an updated version of the beginning of The Matrix. So we get to the building. And while we're in the building, she gets on the elevator and she asks the person who's on the teleprompter screen in the elevator, "Hey, I'm looking for this special project." And the man, the guard, or whoever is screening this particular young lady is like, "I'm sorry, we don't have this project here." And then she gets an entrance into the building, and the elevator goes to wherever it's supposed to go. We wind up looking at her entering a very dark, almost dank and cringy looking tunnel, basement, some sort of underground bunker, where she walks very steadily and very cautiously towards whatever door that she's supposed to go to. And she hears an automated computer voice, and it's like, "Oh, Jenny, thank you for coming. Blah, 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 blah." Where she's then taken into this room where she sees glasses that are placed very carefully on the table. Now, these glasses look no more to me like something that you might be purchasing if you were going to be on a boat for the weekend. But technically, there are these virtual reality glasses. She has explained this by the computer-generated voice, which has now introduced herself as Ariel, who is the kind of virtual caretaker of this particular project and facility. Ariel is going to guide and nurture this young lady, where she is going to be taking care of these candidates, which are sort of like test subjects who are learning this very advanced way of being in order to acclimate society and make it something that it's meant to be. So while she's in this room, she's then taken to another room by Ariel, where she discovers she has two other caretakers of these children. And so the story begins to kind of take shape, or what we think is going to take shape, but we're not sure yet. So Ariel, the computer-generated virtual reality caretaker of this top-secret facility, then leads all of the caretakers to where the candidates are. We discovered that the candidates are actually very young children, extremely young children, and Ariel tells the caretakers to not touch or bother the children while they are doing their studies. And these kids are doing little things. We can't exactly see what they're doing because everybody has these virtual reality boat glasses on, and we can't see what they see, but they are doing all of this extra stuff, which is very advanced and extremely technological. And so they're under instruction not to do that. The two other caretakers that she's with, they're kind of like, okay, well, that's cool, that's fine. We have a girl, and I believe her name is Iggy, and we have a gentleman, and I believe his name is Darby. So we have Ginny, we have Iggy, and we have Darby. Darby is kind of a jerk. Iggy is kind of not really a jerk. Iggy's just Iggy. Iggy, well, we'll get into it later. So they're instructed to go and rest up. They're also shown places where they're going to be eating. They learn that their food is going to be more or less packed with nutrients, but it will have no taste. Like, you will get no kale, but you will get the nutrients of kale. So more or less, it's like dog and cat food that they are being served in these little packets, because everything is so technologically advanced that this is what the future looks like, and this is how we are going to sustain ourselves. And only the people that are in this bunker, in this virtual reality or augmented reality, are allowed to experience this before these children are able to advance the world, because they are so exponentially smart. So they are instructed by Ariel to rest up, and they do. The next morning they wake up and they put on these virtual reality glasses, because of course nothing is really lit in this bunker facility where they are, in this special project that they're doing. So in order to be able to see and function correctly in this concrete bunker, you have to put on these glasses in order to make it look like there's actually lights and there's actually things there that are not really there. So they get up the next day, and Ariel instructs Ginny, the main character, to go and take her shower, and there's her uniform, and so the day commences. And Ginny is getting a particular feeling while she's looking at these children that she ultimately wants to care for, because at one point she was a kindergarten teacher and she wants to interact with children. She thinks that it's really strange that the children don't even speak, but they are very aware, as Ariel has previously let everyone know, that they're aware that everything is going on. They just don't speak because there's no need to. The children can communicate telepathically via these glasses. So Ginny feels some sort of compassion, and she misses the fact that when she was a kindergarten teacher, the kids were so unruly, and she feels kind of like the children should be allowed to express themselves. So note to self, when taking this job and being instructed that all of these things are going on, I'm wondering why Ginny is trying to go against the grain when she knows specifically what the deal is. It's like, how are you going to come in here and like change everything when you know this is how it is? But that's just my opinion, and onward we go. So Ginny tries to interact with the children, and of course they don't speak. They say nothing, but they do communicate to her via Ariel, the virtual reality computer person. And so we go on until Ginny actually has an interaction with one particular child. She's silent and she's almost an alien. This child is looking at Ginny like she is a tree that she could just stare at from across the field and it means nothing to her. Ginny is being looked at by this particular child like she is an inanimate object, and Ginny tries to communicate with the child, but the child really isn't trying to hear it. So I'm assuming that weeks go on because we are not given a time limit or a frame as to what's really happening in this particular virtual reality or augmented reality. We'll get to the discussion where I talk about virtual versus augmented, but this is what we're placed in, so onward we go. So Ginny continues to interact with only one child who begins to actually warm up to her. And the child is kind of like, oh my god, yes, Miss Ginny. And we kind of feel that the child is a little eerie. The child reminds me of Newt from Aliens. But things continue to happen. Creepy things start to happen to Ginny where she's misplacing things. Then more creepy things start to happen to Ginny. She's seeing things from out of the corner of her eye. At no point does Ginny bother to take off these glasses, but she continues on with her daily workings and non-existent interactions with these children until something freaky happens and Ginny and the rest of her crew are completely freaked out. And at this point, they're ready to call it quits. Ginny is ready to call it quits. Until the young child, we'll call the young child Newt, says to Ginny, oh, it's okay, Miss Ginny. I'm really sorry about the trick that they played on you. And Ginny is kind of like, oh, it's okay. And she continues on. But slowly but surely, more incidents happen until one day the children decide to break free and bust loose and take control of the facility, including Ariel, the virtual reality computer program. They've seized Ariel. The entire workings of the facility are gone to pots because these children who are now acting like children of the corn or village of the damned children are freaking out, and they want to seize control of Ginny, Iggy, and Darby. They actually capture Darby. They actually threaten Iggy, and Iggy has to hide, and Ginny's the only one who's left. Meanwhile, everybody's freaking out. They keep saying things like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, you know that something bad is going on, but yet those are the only phrases that they can manage to come out with. All three of them. All three of the characters just keep saying, I don't know what's going on. They run upon a guy who's sitting in a cave-like apparatus, and of course, instantly I thought, this guy's going to be lit on fire. And bam, what do you know? The guy gets lit on fire, the children are corrupt, and we have to figure out how Ginny, Iggy, and Darby are going to get out of this funky situation that they found themselves in this job that they've taken without even considering that it could be freaky. So now I'm going to stop with the plot analysis, and I'm going to go straight into my thoughts on the film. This film is an hour and 20 minutes. I'm going to make you aware of the fact that this movie was rated 3 stars on Netflix. Who in the world watched this movie? Who rated this 3 stars and said that this was worth? In my head, it couldn't have been worth more than at least 1 star. If I could, I would have given it like 1/4 of a star. I don't know who watched this. Who watched this movie and said that it was okay? It's really not okay. And I always speak about how writers and directors who put these movies out for consumption should at least give their audience the peace of mind that they know that they're smart. And it seemed like they just didn't even care about that. It's like they ran out of juice. Perhaps maybe this is what happened. Okay, so these people got together and they were like, okay, we're gonna make this movie, it's gonna be great. and they got the funding together to make the movie. And everything looked like it was coming together, but the script hadn't quite gotten its wrap up. And it's kind of like strings. Like there were some threads loose on the tweed jacket, you know what I mean? So they were like, okay, we just gotta, we have to keep it together, we gotta pull it together, and we have to make this work. And that's what happened. And maybe it wasn't an assault on the general public's intelligence level. Maybe it was just like, okay, we're already here, we're in the thick of it, and we have to make it work. Sometimes I like to think of it like that, instead of some grand conspiracy where people who actually get the chance to make feature-length films and they put it together, they're not doing it just to make everybody dumb. They're doing it because maybe they had a mess up and they were just trying to fix it, and it's kind of like when a cake falls on the floor and it only breaks halfway, but you're like, oh my god, it's Christmas, so I have to, or it's Thanksgiving, it's Easter, and I have to pick it up and I have to kind of I'll make a fall cake, and I'll put all of the I'll put all of the pieces in, and I'll just throw some whipped cream in it, and I did it on purpose. And that's perhaps what happened with this film. Look, the characters have no depth. At points they almost seem a little bit mechanical with their interactions and their dialogue. It's kind of a mess. I feel like the only person that actually brought a little bit of juice to the film would be the young child, Newt, the only child that actually speaks during the film. I feel like this film had a lot of discrepancies, and I think that it tried to go in different ways. It had 3 different ways that it was trying to go. It was trying to be horror, it was trying to be sci-fi, and it was trying to be suspense. But it kind of failed in all of those aspects. There are many questions that I have due to the film and its ending and the way that they tried to tie it up. I do have one question. One question that wasn't answered was, during the film, Jenny has many flashes of what I described in the beginning, which would be her seeing her father in the shower. But then there's also another scene where she sees her father it's still in the shower, but he's on the bottom of the shower with his head blown off. So I'm actually wondering, what was that about? Because there was no explanation about that. Also, what was the deal with the children? Were they real? Was anybody real? Was Jenny the only person that existed in this reality? Now, I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but if you do happen to watch this movie, which I don't recommend, but if you do, I'd like to know answers to those things. I don't think that the script was completely clear. I feel like at one point the writers and the director lost the vision of what they were trying to create. There's also many moments towards the end of the film where they do exactly what I feel like most horror films or science fiction films who kind of lose themselves do, and they don't have any way to make anything scary or creative, and they make everything pitch black except for like a red light and lots of screaming, which is always a fail. It's really unoriginal, and it just makes it look like they lost themselves. And as for tying in of the script, it's not very smart, and I feel like most people would be a little bit peeved, like I was, that a finished project, which could have been cool, it had some potential, except for, it's like everything had potential except for everything that I listed before, like the acting and the dialogue and the look of the film and the ending of the film. So, well, but it did have potential, but I feel like it lost it. And I think that you know, if you're into science fiction, maybe you shouldn't watch it, because I know that real science fiction lovers usually want a story to be well put together and to kind of make you think. If you're into horror, I would suggest not to watch it because there's nothing scary that goes on. If you're into entertainment at all, I would suggest to not watch it because you'll be more annoyed than entertained. So I'm going to say that this film was a complete chop, and there are many other things that I could probably address, but I don't think that I'm going to do that because I think that I've done enough. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below if you have seen a science fiction film, a horror film, or anything that this film might have tried to imitate, or anything that this film kind of comes close to in comparison, or if you have actually bothered to watch this film. Let me know your opinions in the comments down below. I would love to read them, as they are always really exciting to read. And until next time, if you're into it, watch it. Reality would be one where everything is computer generated and you are actually functioning within this reality, but nothing is real. And augmented reality is something that I would consider more or less like your mind has been altered so that you think something is going on, but it's not, and it has nothing to do with like computers. So perhaps, possibly, perhaps the people who wrote and directed the film got the two concepts kind of mixed up, or maybe they tried to fuse the two together, and if they did try to fuse the two together, then it was kind of a fail. At least that's my opinion. If your opinion is different, please let me know in the comment section down below.